The day you accept no one cares is the day you become unstoppable.
There comes a defining moment in the life of any man who rises above the ordinary. Something in him dies, and something stronger takes its place. It's the moment he abandons the expectation that the world should care about his struggles. He stops waiting for sympathy, for validation, for recognition. In that instant, he sees reality clearly. The world is detached, harsh, and self-serving. And instead of collapsing into despair, he becomes untouchable. Because once you understand that no one truly cares, you are liberated. Liberated from seeking approval. Liberated from begging for praise. Liberated from resenting pain. That is when everything begins to shift. Niccolo Machiavelli never clung to ideals of fairness. He believed in raw reality. And the truth is simple. People care only when it benefits them. They take interest in your suffering when it entertains them, in your victories when they can use them, and in your failures when it lifts their ego. But they never care about you. And if you build your life expecting them to, you're building a castle on sand. It will crumble and they will walk by without slowing down. Accept this quickly, and you can begin building something that cannot be toppled. A life not dependent on others' pity, but on being respected, feared, or indispensable. It isn't cruelty, it's clarity. Believing that others should care for you simply because you hurt is a child's dream. True power begins when that illusion is buried. When you realize that your burdens belong to you alone, that no one is coming to lift them, your perspective changes. You stop crying out for help and start asking what you can forge from the silence. Your stance shifts. You stop showcasing your wounds and instead become the kind of man whose very silence unsettles others. That silence becomes armor. This is the beginning of Stoic strength. The ability to endure without theatrics, to bleed without an audience, to suffer without applause. Most people, even those who seem strong, are addicted to performing their pain. They write poetry about it, disguise complaints as honesty, and seek pity wrapped in eloquence. But the Machiavellian mind knows that every display of suffering is a bargain, and bargains make you cheap. Every time you show weakness, your value drops. People stop seeing resilience and start seeing desperation. And once that becomes obvious, you're finished. This doesn't mean you must feel nothing. It means you reveal nothing unless it serves a purpose. The world respects strength, not need. And the fastest path to strength is acting as though no one cares, even if a part of you still hopes they might. Because when you live as if no one cares, you stop waiting. You stop leaning on invisible support. You train your mind to walk through fire alone. That kind of man doesn't require applause, pity, or even recognition. He becomes a presence, a force felt the moment he enters a room. This is when power becomes magnetic. Ironically, when you stop chasing care, people begin noticing you. When you stop seeking understanding, you become intriguing. When you stop begging for loyalty, others compete for your approval. Because true indifference, the kind born from experience, not pretense, is rare. Many pretend not to care, but secretly rage inside. The Machiavellian man genuinely doesn't care, not because he is broken, but because he sees how the game works. And that unsettles others. What unsettles others controls them. Consider how most people operate. They build their identity around being liked. They say what pleases. They post struggles online, hoping for comments like, "Stay strong." They share inspirational quotes but collapse under pressure. They want the look of resilience with the comfort of sympathy. That is not strength, it is decoration. Real toughness is quiet. It is the man carrying scars without needing to explain them. The man who doesn't flaunt his pain because his pain is his weapon. That is the man others fear and follow. Machiavelli would advise, stop parading your hardships. Use them. Every time you want to complain, remind yourself, no one cares. Not consistently, not deeply. And that truth is not a tragedy. It is freedom. Freedom comes when you stop explaining yourself. Stop apologizing for ambition and stop seeking forgiveness for being relentless. The need to be cared for is the weakest form of bondage. Liberation begins when you let it go. This is where the Stoic fuses with the strategist. When you no longer expect care, your losses stay private, your growth happens unseen, and your ambition sharpens in silence. You build quietly, you endure quietly, and then one day you emerge unstoppable, while others who begged for care crumble under the weight of disappointment. But this shift is not easy. You will be tempted to reach out, to justify, to seek comfort. You will doubt yourself. Your silence may feel suffocating. Good. That means the weaker version of you is dying. Let it. Let the part of you desperate to be seen decay. Let the part of you enraged by neglect fall quiet. Beneath that noise lies something terrifyingly powerful. The man who moves for himself. The man who rises not because someone lifted him, but because he clawed his way upward alone. That is the man who endures in memory. Not the one who cried loudest, but the one who refused to flinch. The world does not care about your pain, but it will care about what you become from it. Use this truth as fuel to collapse, and you'll vanish among the forgotten. Use it as fuel to sharpen yourself, and you'll become untouchable, unpredictable, unforgettable, the very kind of figure Machiavelli admired. And here lies the paradox. When you no longer need people's care, you gain their attention. Your indifference becomes magnetic. Your silence becomes influence. Your independence becomes gravity. Most fake indifference, it is loud and attention-seeking. Real indifference is invisible. It doesn't announce itself, it simply moves. And that makes people wonder, what has he endured? What does he know? Why is he unshakable? That is the essence of Machiavellian power. The man who doesn't plead for recognition but makes others uneasy simply by existing. Because when you stop begging for care, you stop giving yourself away. You turn rejection into redirection, heartbreak into discipline, invisibility into dominance. Once you stop waiting for someone to arrive, you become the one who arrives. And that energy, cold, calm, complete, changes everything. You stop measuring people by how they make you feel and start measuring them by their actions when no one is watching. You see who vanishes when you fall silent, who only remembers your name when it's popular, and who stands beside you when nothing is in it for them. That is clarity, and clarity is power. Eventually, your identity transforms. You are no longer the man overlooked, no longer the one who was abandoned. That story dies. You become the man who prevailed anyway. And that story is immortal. It gives your pain meaning, your scars purpose, and your enemies a nightmare they cannot undo. Because you didn't need saving, you became dangerous on your own. Most people appear strong until the applause stops, until the room goes silent, until no one shows up. Then they collapse. But the man who thrives in silence, who continues not in spite of indifference but because of it, that man becomes legend. People whisper about him. How did he survive? Why didn't he break? The answer is always the same. Because he stopped expecting anyone to care. By then, he doesn't crave pity, he doesn't need recognition, he doesn't even chase love. He operates with inevitability, not hope. He isn't waiting to be chosen, he is building a world that bends to him. He doesn't flinch in solitude, he welcomes it. Silence has become his home. Most people still bargain with reality. They want the world to reward them for being kind, for being loyal, for being good. But reality rewards only effectiveness. Once you abandon the illusion that care is guaranteed, you stop negotiating and start executing. Your path no longer bends to loneliness or rejection. You're no longer part of the crowd's game. You've built your own, and they must play it. This is not coldness. This is precision. You still feel, but you channel those feelings into building, into planning, into creating what cannot be taken from you. You've cut the invisible strings of dependence. Now you're no longer slowed by emotional bureaucracy. You no longer pause to justify. You no longer waste effort explaining yourself to those who will never understand. You move, and the world adjusts or collapses. That is the core Machiavellian truth. You cannot force people to care. You can only make them comply. The weak want fairness. The strong want results. And once you stop expecting emotional justice, you step into real power. Solitude becomes your forge, your compass, your sanctuary. In solitude, you stop being distracted by the need to be seen. You see clearly who uses you, who tests you, who only claps when the crowd claps first. That clarity is your blade. With it, you stop romanticizing strangers' loyalty. You stop mourning when others disappear. You stop expecting. Instead, you sharpen. And from that sharpening comes dominance, the kind no one expects from the quiet man who never begged. Because once you've built without care, once you've bled without applause, once you've endured without support, you've become terrifyingly efficient. The ones who succeed without applause never collapse when the applause fades later. The world only applauds when you prove you don't need it. And by then, you've already won. That is the Machiavellian reality. People only care once you've shown you don't require them to. And even then, their care is irrelevant. You move regardless. You win regardless. You endure regardless. And that independence makes you inevitable. When someone ignores you now, it doesn't hurt you. It reveals them. When someone withholds support, it doesn't destroy you. It unmasks them. When someone tries to punish you with silence, you welcome it. It is your native land. Every time someone didn't care, they trained you. Every absence gave you time to build alone. Every silence pushed you deeper into your own voice. Now, you don't ask. You don't explain. You don't wait. You enforce. Your standards are law. Your presence is consequence. And the ones who never cared will care soon enough when they realize they've lost access to the man who doesn't need them. Because the day you accept no one cares is the day you stop being powerless. It's the day you stop being predictable. It's the day you stop being controlled. And it's the day you start becoming unforgettable.